as we round the corner on Rick and Morty Season 3 with the season finale coming up this weekend. So we wanted to take a look at some of the things we hope will happen in the future for Rick and Morty in their 4th season next year. And while we're waiting, why don't you just go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure to ding that notification bell as well. Morty and Jessica hook up. Ever since the very first episode, we have had Morty pining after Jessica.
Jessica.
5 plus 5.
Jessica.
Okay, good.
It's pretty simple. Morty loves Jessica. He uses every moment he has while he is in school to attempt some sort of teen rom-com style move to get her affection, sometimes succeeding.
It's a blue-hating rat.
Hey there, Jessica. Whoa, oh, whoopsie.
But even when he succeeds, something terrible happens and his whole world comes crumbling down.
Morty, come on, we gotta get you out of here.
Literally, the one time he got her to fall head over heels in love with him, his love potion mutated into a super virus and killed pretty much everyone on Morty's original Earth. Morty and Rick had to go to another dimension and kill the Rick and Morty of that world and take their place.
Alright, Morty, here we are.
Oh my god, Rick! Is that us?
But in Season 4, we are hoping that this long-time longing gets taken care of once and for all. It would be nice for young Morty to use all those skills he learned in Atlantis
I'm really hoping it wasn't a one-off thing and I can see her again.
to good use, and it would be nice to see something end with a nice win for Morty and not some veiled lesson about life and the universe from Grandpa Rick.
Rick!
I just did you a favor, Morty.
We will even take the notion that Morty hooks up with Jessica, gets smitten with her even more, and it turns out she is working with her friend Tammy as an agent of the fragmented galactic government, which leads Morty to have to choose Grandpa Rick and his adventures or falling in love with the galactic government and having Jessica. In the end, of course, we would always have Morty choosing to side with Grandpa Rick and going off on more adventures, because as Rick likes to say, who cares about one person when you have infinite versions of them? Jerry and Beth get back together. Jerry was kind of out of place this season. The divorce from Beth has taken away our down on his luck ad man, and we want him back. Outside of one episode this season where Jerry and Rick go on an adventure,
It's a Rick and Jerry adventure. Rick and Jerry episode.
he has been an afterthought and sometimes only appearing in the bumper at the end of an episode.
Unless my suffering is your nourishment. Jesus, okay.
We need more from the guy who came up with Got Apples.
Do you like it?
Yes.
You do?
So come on, Harmon, give us some more Jerry. We expect that Jerry and Beth's codependence on each other will win out and Beth will bring Jerry home. And it is evident in the original Interdimensional Cable episode that Jerry and Beth are destined for each other across the multiverse. And even when they both have exactly what they've always wanted out of life, they actually have only ever wanted each other.
Jerry Smith?
Beth Sanchez, I have been in love with you since high school.
Now, in no way are we saying that this relationship is a good one or a healthy one, but who cares? These are two cartoon characters and Jerry is amazing, so we need to get him back in the mix, and it seems that the only way we're going to get that is if he and Beth reconcile and make the family whole once more. Plus, this would give us some closure to that particular arc and maybe make Summer a little more bearable this season and put an end to her huffing pottery glaze.
She huffed enamel, and we never even talked about it.
Well, there was so much more at stake.
Flashback, Sqaunhy, Rick, and Birdperson. In Season 1, Summer and Rick throw a massive house party, one which destroys part of the home and ends up bringing parts of an alternate dimension to the Smiths' backyard. It also introduces us to two of Rick's best friends in the whole multiverse, Birdperson and Sqaunhy. Birdperson is a very direct and monotone clone of Hawkman, and Sqaunhy is a cat creature with a very similar appearance to the maligned video game character Bubsy. Sqaunhy is the life of the party, and pretty much never stops having a good time. That's pretty much all we know about Sqaunhy, really. He has been in 2 episodes, and he has just partied and had a great time. Although in that second episode, it is revealed that Rick, Sqaunhy, and Birdperson took on the government in their younger years, and that the personal war has taken a toll on all 3 of them. So it wouldn't be unwise to say that Sqaunhy is self-medicating for something that happened in the past.
Hey, I'm squatching in here! Oh my god, Mo!
So what we're getting at here is that we want to see what happened all those years ago, and it is high time to get some closure to that story. In the Season 3 finale, we have Birdperson killed, Sqaunhy on the run, and Rick turning himself into the government. We need to know why. Plus, we want to see how suave young Rick was in his prime. Pheonixperson rising. Tying into that last entry, we want to see a whole episode centered around Pheonixperson.
I am Pheonixperson.
Pheonixperson. Is that what we settled on?
The Frankenstein monster's version of Birdperson deserves his own episode after getting his life cut short at his own wedding.
Birdperson, no!
It would also be very interesting to see how Pheonixperson interacts with his killer and wife Tammy. Think about how emotional this episode could be for Rick. His best friend in the multiverse gunned down, then resurrected to be used as a tool to hunt him down. That sounds awesome. Then throw in some over-the-top RoboCop-style action to set the tone, and we have a recipe for an episode that would rank amongst the series' best episodes. Culminating in either Rick saving Pheonixperson and helping him connect with his inner Birdperson, or doing what Rick does best and killing the things that he loves.
Say goodnight, old man.
No matter what happens, we will be treated to a very solid story which digs deep into the guarded emotional core of Rick Sanchez. Mr. Poopybutthole Returns. Has there been a character more beloved on this series than the one and only Mr. Poopybutthole?
Ooh-wee, whatever you want, Rick. We're here to help.
Thanks, Mr. Poopy Butthole.
I mean, we love him big time. How could you not? He is the only thing in the Smiths' lives that they all have great memories of. Well, at least they used to until Beth shot him.
Huh, is something wrong, Beth?
We got a glimpse of him rehabbing in the bumper to the episode Total Recall, where he was learning to walk again after that said shooting.
He's looking a lot better.
What do we want to see from Mr. Poopybutthole this time around? Well, it would be nice to see how he is dealing with his pain pill addiction.
These little fellas help me get through the day.
We also want to see him on an adventure with Rick and Morty, potentially tracking down the rest of the parasites that infected them all in Total Recall, leading to an eradication of those parasites once and for all. With the added benefit being that when Mr. Poopybutthole shows up at the Smith house to go off with Rick and Morty, there will be the world's most uncomfortable moment between he and Beth. Morty and Summer solo mission. It's time for a little hijinks here. I want a full-fledged Summer and Morty mission. We know now from the countless times that Morty has had to fly the ship while Rick is blackout drunk and yelling about Israel.
What the hell is Israel?
It's just something Rick starts talking about when he's blackout drunk.
That young Morty is a great pilot and can handle getting he and Summer out of any trouble they find themselves in. It would be a great moment of growth for both of the Smith kids to go off on a mission for Grandpa, something they both aggrandize, and when they return from that mission beaten and broken but successful, Rick just craps all over their efforts, showing that he could have just portal gunned in and out and did the whole thing in 2 seconds.
And as far as Grandpa's concerned, you're both pieces of shit. Yeah, I can prove it mathematically.
It would be a classic Rick move to downplay his grandkids' importance while also being a proud grandparent, and it would help push the narrative for both Morty and Summer a bit further than being tag-alongs on their grandpa's adventures. We could also use this solo adventure to be the jump-off point for running into a returning evil Morty on the Citadel, or potential confrontation between Tammy and Pheonixperson, with the latter being a more emotional impact for Summer and the former being a nice setup for a long arc with Morty, which we will discuss later in the list. Beth's father-daughter adventure. Beth is the most underused of the core characters on Rick and Morty. She kind of falls into that background expositional parent character since she is the more stable of her and Jerry. But if everyone in the Smith family has had a solo adventure with Grandpa Rick except Beth, then what gives?
We should get a drink.
Really? Like, go somewhere?
Yeah, let's drop the kids off and go tie one on.
It's time for Beth to step up to the plate and work out some of the abandonment issues she has with her father, something we barely touched on in Pickle Rick.
Rick, why did you lie to your daughter?
We have some idea as to why Rick left his daughter alone all those years ago, and with him being terrorist numero uno on the galactic government's list, but Beth doesn't know what happened and why he had to leave. She also doesn't know that on the Citadel of Ricks, the Ricks that live there eat cookies flavored with the love he has for his daughter.
He realized long ago that the greatest thing he'd ever create was his daughter.
I love Daddy!
We need this episode to happen. The darker this show gets, it needs to anchor Rick back to being a human and not some unfeeling super genius god. And a heartfelt adventure and talk with Beth would be just the medicine we need to do that. It might not be the most slapstick funny episode of the show, but watching Rick work through some of his emotional pain will be ripe with pop culture references, and seeing Beth get some payoff for being abandoned when she was young would be great as well. The return of Interdimensional Cable. Ever since the debut of Interdimensional Cable, way back in season 1 in an episode of the same name, they have been the most comedy-filled episodes of the show, mainly because of their disjointed and improvised nature.
This is infinite TV from infinite universes. Look.
Both episodes of Interdimensional Cable have been created off of an outline for an episode only, with no formal script, just riffing from Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon. The result has been amazing, and since we know we aren't getting one this season,
I call them Morty's Mind Blowers. And we'll be doing this instead of Interdimensional Cable.
no matter how good Morty's Mind Blowers is, there is nothing that can replace the glory of Interdimensional Cable. It doesn't take ants in your eyes to see that.
I'm Ants in My Eyes Johnson!
Johnson here at Ants in My Eyes Johnson's Electronics. I mean, there's so many ants in my eyes.
What we're getting at with this is that after 2 years without an interdimensional cable episode, we are ready to
Michael down your Vincents. Jan Quadrant Vincent 16.
and dive back into shows that populate the multiverse and maybe a little bit more ball fondlers.
Yeah, ball fondlers.
Do you hear us, Harmon and Royland? Just give us the damn interdimensional cable. Evil Morty's plan revealed. Back in Season 1, there is an episode where Rick and Morty are brought to the Citadel of Ricks for the first time. This is not a happy occasion for our adventuring duo, no. They are arrested for the murder of many Ricks across the multiverse.
27 Ricks brutally murdered in their own timelines.
Well, Rick and Morty aren't having any of that.
I've heard enough. Run, Morty!
And they break out and go on a search for the real Rick murderer. They reverse engineer Rick's portal gun and find a hidden planet that the Council of Ricks could not find. The reason why they couldn't find it was a wall of Mortys in agony. Rick and Morty infiltrate the dome and meet murderer Rick and his eye-patched Morty. Rick is set up to be killed in a Bond villain-style ending until Morty saves Rick with the help of the other Mortys on the planet. The Council of Ricks arrive and see the dead murderer Rick was nothing more than a robot being controlled by someone else. That someone is Eye-Patch Morty, dropping a bombshell that he is a mastermind and is out for Rick from C-137. Fast forward to Season 3 in the Ricklantis episode. There is an election on the Citadel, one in which the Morty candidate is ridiculed, but by using populist beliefs, the Morty wins the presidency and effectively kills all the Ricks who really run the Citadel. In the end of the episode, it is revealed that this Morty is in fact Evil Morty from all the way back in Season 1. What is in store for Rick C-137? Hopefully we find out next season. Rick and Evil Morty Showdown. Evil Morty is up to something, and Rick C-137 is at the center of it. We need the season finale of Season 4 to revolve around the confrontation between Rick C-137 and Evil Morty. It can take all season to build up with little Doctor Who-style callbacks with our Morty being influenced by Evil Morty, or even having Rick's adventure be thwarted by Evil Morty's schemes and having Rick have a full-on breakdown.
A bomb!
Gonna drop it down there and get a whole fresh start. Create a whole fresh start.
But it all has to lead up to Rick and Evil Morty having a winner-take-all showdown between the two smartest men in the multiverse, with the latter being mentored by the former. That's right, in this theory, Evil Morty is the original Morty of Rick. There has been many callbacks to Rick's getting new Mortys.
I love being your new farty.
Very amusing, Mr. Smith.
It would be a huge emotional hit for Rick to discover his original Morty is still alive and pulling the strings to orchestrate his downfall. It is hard for the conclusion to this story to not be Evil Morty being the original Morty. There have been too many blips throughout the first 3 seasons to suggest it. From Rick talking about car batteries and Mortys and saying he would never do it.
With like 5 Mortys and a jumper cable. Which I also wouldn't do.
Then when in the memory machine it shows that he most certainly had done a Morty car battery setup. So posit this, what if Evil Morty isn't evil at all, but an abused Morty who was tortured by Rick C-137 and wants revenge for his mistreatment? What if Rick was a more abusive and evil Rick before coming to C-137's timeline and finding that he did love his family and the loss of his original Morty is what drove him to become a better person?
What's that? Who's that baby?
There would be a lot of emotional moments which could be turned into some classic comedy at the hands of Royland and Harmon. Now we just have to have this play out. Disclaimer, there is a small chance that this story wraps up this year in the season finale, which is titled The Rick-Churian Morty Date. So there is always that.
Oh, jeez, man, nothing, man. We're just hanging out and stuff.
That's the list. Are you excited for season 4 of Rick and Morty? What have you thought of season 3? Let us know in the comments, then make sure to subscribe to our channel and watch our other videos.